Good morning, my friends. This is Barb Brimhall, the BZB Stamper, and I am coming to you without a second camera. My webcam conked out on me earlier, so we're going with just the hand view. So good morning, good morning. All right, guys. Well, let me show you this technique with product that is going away. But I know that some of you already have Stampin' Write markers, or any die-based marker will work, okay? Any die-based marker. Okay, so we're using the With You in Mind stamp set, and this is actually another $1 million set. Let me move it so you can see it, by my friend Julie Davison, who is an amazing stamper. So I thought it would be fun to show you. I've had this ever since it came out, and I haven't used it on a card for you guys, but I'm going to use it today. And ironically, I'm going to use it on photopolymer, and you're going to see, if you have a red rubber set, try this technique on that first, and you'll see how different it looks. It's interesting. Now, what I'm using today is I am using Blueberry Bushel. I love this color. And Berry Burst. And then I'm using the Full of Life Designer Series paper. And that's why I chose the colors that I chose. Plus, they'll show up on the photopolymer easier. So that's what we're using. I'm going to go ahead and put the inside of the card in here, because these cards do go out for those of you that place orders as a thank you. So I also always like to have the white on the inside. I'm not always good about that. And I'm just going to put that inside. For those of you that are new to our Coffee in a Card, if you do the hashtag coffee16, you will get the instructions, and it has the measurements and the supplies used and all that good stuff. Okay, so I am now going to put the Full of Life paper on. I want to get this all done so I can concentrate on the technique. And with only having one camera, I am going to really try to have my camera where you could see it and not go off. It's going to be hard because I usually have my head right over. I also wanted to show you what was on the Tuesday tip yesterday, which was how to make your envelope match. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put glue all over. I'm actually going to open this envelope, and I just want to make sure that I've got glue everywhere. And then I'm going to put the paper on. And this is when I like to close it again to make sure I've got the paper in the right place. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors, if I can find them, and which have also retired because Stampin' Up! Couldn't get the manufacturer that we get these from wasn't making them anymore. COVID really affected our supply line here, guys. And I'm just going to take my scissors, and I'm just going to go around. I know that most of you know this, but I thought if there's only one person that doesn't, it's worth showing it. Okay, and now we have a custom envelope to go with our card. Isn't that fun? Okay, so let me get that out of the way. Let me get this out of the way. This is our thick, basic white cardstock. I feel like for this technique, because I'm going to be introducing water, I wanted to have the thick cardstock. So I got a lot of stuff here because this is a very messy technique. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Stampin' Write marker. Again, these are retiring. I also wanted to let you know, you could tell this was not planned because I think it was 2 years ago, they revamped our markers so that the nub is really a nice writing nub. So if you like to have colors in your journals, that is another good use of our Stampin' Write markers. And what I'm going to do, and I'm going to try to see my camera to make sure I am doing this where you guys can see it. I am using the side of my marker. You do not want to do it this way, guys. You don't want to use the tip because you will ruin your tip fast. So just use the side of your marker. This, I will tell you, it's hard on photopolymer because photopolymer is slicker. than red rubber. So that's why this technique is a little tough. I can't see. You can actually see it beating up here, which it won't usually do on red rubber. So if you're going to do this technique a lot and you have a bunch of red rubber stamps, do it on that first, please. You will be so much happier. And you won't have to do this second part of this, which I'm going to show you. And now I'm going to use Blueberry Bliss, but in my instructions, I put Azure Afternoon, which will also work because those are in the same color family. And I didn't want you to have to buy 2 sets of markers. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to huff on it and stamp straight down. And this is where, if I was doing it on red rubber, I would do what I'm going to do on the next step, but it doesn't work with this small of a font. So what I'm going to do, let's see, somebody said something important. It was Patty, I think. Oh, Kathy. I use markers for all the colors I don't have stamp pads for. Yes. That's why I'm stocking up on all of them, because then at least I'll have the core colors, right? Okay, now I feel like this is a whole video on what we don't have anymore. We don't have our water painters anymore because the manufacturer stopped manufacturing them for us. You can still get some online, or you can use a fine tip paintbrush. And a fine paintbrush would work just fine. I'm squishing water out here so that this is wet. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here and I am going to I hope I'm in camera, am I? I am going to just pull the color out. Now, you will not have to do this if you use red rubber. You can, obviously, but you won't have to with red rubber because you won't have all these little bumps that were left in the photopolymer. And I want a watercolor look anyway, so I'm not going to be real perfect on this. If it runs, I am totally okay with that because I want that watercolor look, right? Okay, so that's that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the actual technique that I wanted to show you, which is I'm going to take the flower that comes in that set, and I'm going to start with the Berry Burst marker. And I'm going to pretty much color the whole thing. I wanted to use a darker marker so that you guys could see where I'm coloring on this. And I'm pretty much going to do the whole thing. It's just easier. And since Blueberry Bushel is a much darker color, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, now this is where I'm going to make a mess. And I'm going to show you, but I'm going to have to do this off camera. I am using a spritzer, our spritzer tool, which, hooray, we still have. You can use any kind of spray bottle, but this is a very fine mist, and so it works really well for this technique. And what I'm going to do, okay, see my stamp here and see my spritzer here. You want it about 12 inches away. And I'm going to move this off camera. I'm sorry, but you're just going to spritz it. And my best advice, let me go ahead and stamp this before it drips everywhere, is stamp it down. If you're using watercolor paper, press down. If you're not using watercolor paper, just hold it down. And there's your flower. And I'm going to do the next one even more so you can see the difference. Now I have to clean this and dry this off. And then I'm going to take the side. Again, I can't stress that enough. The side of the marker, not the tip. And this time I'm going to do a little bit more of the Blueberry Bushel. I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to put a little bit more water. And if it ruins the card, it ruins the card. But I'm going to spritz it a little bit more so you can see what happens when you put too much water on. And I'm just putting that stamp down because if I press on it, it's going to go everywhere. Okay, see how that's more watercolored? So I wanted to show you the two looks. Now, if I want to make these two kind of be the same, I'm going to go back in with my aqua painter and I'm just going to pull the color out because the whole point, you guys, is to get a watercolor look. So that's what I'm going to do here. And then you can see I could take I'm kind of scared to do it because I can take my paper towel and you can see I can get that excess water off, but look how much lighter it is and the totally different look from here. And I'm okay with that because I wanted to show you it. That's the whole point of a technique, is to show you, right? Now, if I wanted to, I could even spritz this. I don't know if I want to do that, but what the heck? Let me go ahead. We'll see what happens. Okay, so I spritzed it, and you're going to see it really start to run because it was wet on top of wet. And then I wanted to show you, and I'm going to use the front of my envelope as a protector here. And I'm going to take my blend. Oop, that's the nub. Sorry, wrong side. And I am going to flick ink from the lid. Can you see how I'm doing that, guys? I don't want to put too much on here. Let me go ahead and flick the rest of my envelope now, since I've already done it. And this is another way that you can add color. I don't like to do that a whole lot with my blends because if you look at the cap, see the cap? You can see where I flicked it. It is kind of harsh. So if you can actually hurt the brush of your blends if you're not super careful. Okay. Oh, goodness. Don't we have a fun mess here? Blah. Okay, that's all right. And then I am going to, oh boy, that is still really wet. Let me get my towel back out just because I don't want to contaminate my surface here. And let me go ahead and put glue on. Remember, this is the thick basic white, not the thin. A watercolor paper would be better, but I wanted to show you how it looks with the thick paper. Oh, I just moved that all the heck over. Hold on. And then I am going to do this one straight because I did make another sample for you because I knew that we were going to have kind of a potentially ugly card. I love these colors though. I really do. And like I said, I pulled them straight from the paper. Okay, so I'm going to put this one just on straight. But I'm going to bring out my, some would say, oh my gosh, that looks really ugly. And it's not the prettiest card I've ever made. But this is the exact same card, except with the sentiment and an angle and a lot less water. But I wanted to show you what would happen with the two ways you could do this. So this is how it would normally look. And I'm going to hold it up. If you do this with a red rubber stamp set, you're not going to get all these little dots. Those little dots were the result of the ink not really being able to cling to the photopolymer. Okay. And there you have it. And we've got our little envelope to go with it. Okay. So the other thing you can do, and I really hadn't planned to do this. Let me just show you one other thing we could do. Let me take the cupcake. Hold on real quick, because I should have shown you how to do this for those of you that are not really familiar with how markers work. One sec, please. The other thing you can do with markers, which is what I originally learned how to do with markers, is you take one color, and this really works a lot better on red rubber. Can you guys see? You can color different parts of your stamp. And this is how I learned like 29 years ago. I was like, I think it was Kathy said, I have markers in what I don't have ink pads with. And I know, see how that's all, I'm going to hold that up. Can you guys see how that's all splotchy? Yeah, you're not going to get that with red rubber. So now I'm going to hold it down really firmly to see if I can, no, see? That's why this technique, this is really why the markers don't work. I mean, they just don't work on photopolymer, friends. You can get them to work. You can manipulate it. But with red rubber, you would get a really clean image, okay? All right. You guys have a great rest of your week. It's August. Enjoy the weather. And I'll see you on Sunday. Talk to you later, my friends. Bye.